Hello and welcome to Colin Bradley Artcast. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
How you doing, Dad?
Not too bad, Steve. Thank you very much. Yes, got over all the holidays now and back at work. And I've been trying to sort something out this week. So you'll see that in the near future.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, we'll talk about that today because you have done a new picture for everyone to see. Yeah, it was nice to have a bit of a break over Christmas and New Year. Happy New Year, everyone, as well. Happy New Year. It's the first show
Absolutely.
of 2023. And this year marks 10 years, I believe, since we started this podcast.
Is it really? Gosh, it doesn't seem that, does it? 10
Yeah.
years, wow. Time flies.
I'm almost certain that's the case, but I believe it was 2013 we started. So happy 10-year anniversary, Dad.
Good. Oh, that's a milestone, really, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. I think so, absolutely. You're over 330 odd episodes. I don't actually know. I've lost count. But yeah, it's an amazing achievement. And thank you all for still tuning in and listening after 10 years. For those that have been listening to them since the beginning. Anyway, that's for sure. Yeah, it's nice to get back to things. You've been busy this week. So let's talk about the picture. I'm going to put it up on screen now.
Hmm.
Beautiful subject. What? Where did this one come from?
Oh, once again, it came from Pixabay. My usual browsing through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pictures. I can't tell you how many you have to go through. And then suddenly it popped on the screen. I thought, wow, I like that. I'm struck as soon as I see something. I think, gosh, that's good. I don't think, oh, I wonder if I can do that. I just think, oh, that's nice. I've got a lot of confidence now that I can see something and think, yeah, that's lovely. But then I had reservations about it because it's like a shadow picture without being a shadow picture, isn't it? And I thought, well, how am I going to tackle this? So when I first started it, I thought, is it going to work? But fortunately it did. And I did enjoy it. But like everything else, whenever you start something off like this, you're never quite sure whether you're going to finish it. I mean, one or two, not many that I have. You get sort of about a quarter of the way through in this particular one, and I thought, because I had to find the colours, and the colours, the bluey tone was hard to get. I couldn't put blue in, it just wouldn't work. So I ended up with 770. You know 770 in Carbothello? It's a mauvey tone. Don't use it a lot. And I thought, well, this seems to be the only one. I was testing it out. I thought, this is the only one that I think is going to fit the bill. Anyway, when I started using it, I thought, no, this is wrong. It doesn't seem to hold the colour that I was looking for. But I persevered with it, and in the end, it actually turned out to be the right colour. But because it's in the background as well, so it's in the background and in the cat. And I've never ever used it before, not on an animal.
What changed with that colour in terms of it suddenly being the right colour?
What changed it? Well, first of all, I thought it would have been okay, because I'm putting the other greys on, and black was a very important tone. And I thought, well, the black will cover the Movi 770 up, which it did, of course. But when I was putting it on, I thought, is it going to work? Especially when it went on to the animal itself. Is it really going to work? And I had to have a lot of perseverance, really, and faith that, yes, it would work. And it did. But you have these reservations when you pick a colour like that. You think, is it the right tone? As I said, I've never used it before in any animal at all. So it was an experiment. But like everything else, Steve, you try things, and I can't really lose, because if it didn't work, I'd just scrap it and put another one on. But I'm quite determined when I think that it. I like the picture itself. I love the pose, was lovely, and sometimes on a picture you get an attitude, or the cat seems to convey something to you. It's obviously caught attention. Something's caught its attention. And I thought what I would like to do is to try to create that, capture that. And that's not easy, because it's through the eyes and it's through the pose and so on. But I did, in fact, I think I caught that. What's the cat looking at? What's caught his attention? And this is what I think, why I do the job. Really, I love trying to find those attitudes, those feelings that come through.
It's interesting because it doesn't feel like it's just a picture to you. When you're doing landscapes, you try and create a story that might be behind the scenario, the scene, where it's set, what might have happened. It's about, and the same with this one. It's interesting how to you it's not just a pose; it's about almost a story behind it.
Yes, absolutely. And I try to find that story if I can. I've got another one, not the one I'm actually doing at the moment, but there's another one I saw. It was a stag and his mate. There's a stag and the deer, and it's in a darkish surrounding. And when I saw that, I thought, I wonder what that stag is looking at. He's looking at his mate, through the trees, and I thought, I wonder what he's thinking. So you kind of put yourself in their shoes, and it creates an interest. I think it creates something that is for me to get hold of and say, wow, now I've got the subjects, and now I've got the surround, and now I want to create the atmosphere. And I'm looking forward to doing that. That's a little way down the line at the moment, because I've just found that. But that's what I look for. I try to see in the pictures.
And this is quite an unusual cat in terms of the long fur, sort of at the front in light, and then sort of fading into quite dark contrasts at the back. So it's definitely not a usual type of picture that people would see on your site, on the website
No,
currently.
Right. Well, I think it's nice to have something different, isn't it? And I'm looking for that now. As I was chatting to your mum a few days ago now, and she said, "Well, no, you don't really want to do the same old all the time." And she's quite right. I'm looking for something different now. We've got enough stock, really, that people can get their teeth in. So what I try to find now is unusual pictures that I want to do, for one thing. And I know if I'm interested in it, then I think other people will be too.
And this is really interesting to me because this is almost a cat version of your Labrador that you did in a very dark shadow. Not a shadow picture, but the one I think you only used a few pencils, and you used dark blue, I think, for that. What colour paper did you use for this one?
This is dark grey pastel matte. It has to be, really, Steve. You've got to have that contrast when you start. If you would use a light paper, you'd have to be on a lot of dark tones, putting on the paper, to try to get the depth of colour. So I think you've got to go dark, and the grey is ideal anyway for something like this, because it's a neutral colour. And when I say it's grey, it's got a kind of browny tinge to it. It's not just dead, grey. It's got a tone in it, which I think lends itself very well to other colours.
Do you think that clashed at all with the cooler colours of the Payne's grey? Is that 770 or those kinds of blue? Because this almost feels like a bluey-ish hue to it, but that dark grey, browny colour on the pastel mat didn't conflict in any way with it.
Well, I think they've been very clever, really, when they produce this paper. You can put almost anything on it, and it speaks to me when I've got a picture like this. I think, well, what would work? And I usually get the different papers and put the photograph on the papers, and then it speaks to me. It says, "Oh no, that's too light." In fact, one I did do a picture very recently that I thought it would be ideal to use the sand colour paper. Set it up, it was all ready to go, and suddenly I thought, I don't think this is going to work. So I changed it to the dark grey. It kind of once you see it on the paper, you think, is it going to work with that? And then I realised once again how much colour you'd have to put on to create the dark. This was another picture that had a very dark background, although it was basically a lighter picture. There isn't any. Well, I've got my own rules, but it's very difficult to put those across on a podcast. You know, why do you choose this paper? Why do you choose that paper? But I find the dark grey is I think probably my favourite now of all. I can work with it. I don't have to work really, really hard. You know, it seems to perform for me.
It's interesting hearing you describe things with your art. You know, the performing for me, it's separate, almost separate to you. You know, the pencils work independently. You know, even though it's you behind the choices and the wheel and everything like that. And the thing that I find interesting is when you say things like "it speaks to me," and that's like your intuition saying, your internal voice acting as your compass of what you should and shouldn't do. And I think that we say that a lot about the intuitive side of doing these pictures and how people will have that too. Is the best way to develop that internal compass, that internal voice that speaks to you about what to choose and where to go and what to do, is the best way to simply build up your portfolio and your experience by doing as many pictures as possible?
Absolutely. That is the only way, really. The more you do, the more variety of subjects you do. And you know, I broaden it right out. A lot of people stick to one subject, and you know, jolly good for them. You know, like just animals, or some people portraits, or just landscapes. I wanted to branch out on all of them, and then if you put it all together, all those different hundreds and thousands probably of techniques, it starts to have it's sort of inbuilt. It's like a computer, I suppose. You're a computer. You just call upon all those things. I wonder, is this going to be similar to this I did or that I did? So you still have that experience. So yes, I think it's certainly the intuitive side comes out more in the experience of choosing the pencils, for instance, and choosing the colour tones and all of that. That's experience. And I suppose intuition comes in as much as when you try to create what I was saying about the attitude of the cat or a person, you know, through the eyes or through the general pose that the subject is presenting to you, and that tells you. And then intuitively you think, oh, I think that's got a... I don't really understand that fully. I'm sure other people would find that difficult to explain. But I have found that that's what happens when you're doing a picture. It's not until sometimes you finish the picture do you actually see that then. You don't see it while you're doing it. You see it when it's finished. You think, oh, that's amazing that I've captured this or I've captured that. I mean, you knew you wanted to do it, but you don't know how you did it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fascinating to me. It really is. It makes a lot of sense. You know, you're remembering those experiences. It's all stored up there, and eventually you wire those thoughts in your brain, and all of that experience goes there. And then whenever you do something similar, you can call upon it. I suppose scientifically it does make sense, but I love that the way it's described. You know, what you're saying with the internal voice and just guiding you, just speaking to you. It's very poetic. So I think this one is a great challenge for people. I think it's going to absolutely add to the experiences of all of our students, give them something new, a whole new load of skills. So this one is going to be a class on our website amongst all of our others that we have still to come. So you've got another one lined up, Dad?
Yes, I've got a few. The one that I'm at the moment, I'm experimenting with one at the moment. Whether this is going to come off or not, I don't know. I just wanted to experiment to see whether I could produce the goods, you know. So it may not be a picture. It may be something for me to see whether I can actually pull this off. But yes, there's two or three I've got that in the pipeline. I'm not in a tearing hurry now, you know. In the past, I used to bash them out, as you know, sort of one a week, you know. There's another one, and I've stopped that production line system now because we don't need it anymore. What I'm looking for now, and what we're looking for, I think, is something unique, something that is going to capture people, like the last few. I mean, if you look back over the last half a dozen pictures that we've been presenting on the podcast, particularly. They've been really, really had good reaction, and people have found them to be, I'm sure, very interested. It's also very interesting for me because I can then express my own thoughts about this particular picture rather than, oh yes, same old again. And but I have got a few that in the pipeline, or you know, not necessarily on paper yet. But they will be. The stag, particularly, you know, that is one that's... Sometimes you get something like that, and I only found that a couple of days ago, that, so that may jump the queue. I may put that one forward because that I like the idea, and the more I see it and look at it, the more I'm intrigued by whether I can pull it off. I know I can pull it off. It's how well I can present it.
Lovely. Excellent. I'm sure everyone's itching to see that. I am. So hopefully it won't be too long before we can show that one. But that's great. That's great. All very exciting. Okay, excellent. Well, we'll be back next week with some more talking points. May not be a picture, but we'll certainly have lots to talk about. But we'll leave it there for this week. So thank you everyone for watching and for listening. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley. Enjoy your week.
Enjoy your week.